And there we go. Same thing happened to me today when I did this, guys, is when I did it on Sunday. I hit go live, and it was circling, and then I had to refresh it, and then I hit go live again, and the second time it actually worked. Very, very strange. But anyway, so we are going to be talking about the missing money today from the government. So we're going to get into that in just a minute. We're going to give it a minute for people to get in here for the chat. But before we get started, just want to say very family-friendly oriented channel. And please keep your comments clean. Be decent to each other. No racism and all that type of stuff ahead of time, please. Because I have these wonderful moderators that if you do, they're going to come in here and they are going to boot you out. So please, no nastiness tolerated, okay? So just be respectful of each other. That's all I ask. Again, and when I'm done talking, please, all cap locks for your questions so they stand out for me more, okay? So if you haven't hit that thumbs up button yet, please do so. I see we got about 150 people in here already. So make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button for me. I would appreciate that. So anyway, I hope everybody's had a good day. I hope your week is going well. It ended up getting up to 86 degrees here today at the homestead. Just like yesterday, it was 86. Real weird. Then through the night, when it wasn't supposed to rain, we had a huge downpour came in, and it was unbelievable for a couple hours. It actually woke me up out of a sound sleep. So very interesting. Okay, so let's get into topic. We're actually going to start out this chat talking about September 10th, 2001. Not the 11th, the 10th. Rumsfeld came out and said there is $2.3 trillion missing, okay? And we're going to find that money. We're going to find out what happened to that missing $2.3 trillion. Not million, not billion, trillion, which ends up being about $8,000 per person in the United States. I want you to so that kind of puts it into perspective of how much money we're talking about on that time period, okay? So where are they keeping all the records for that? Well, some of them are in the part of the Pentagon, which was being redone. So there wasn't any people over in that area, okay, but they had the records there. And they also had them in Building 7. God, that is a coincidence in itself. So all these records, all this information was there so they could do their investigation. Well, guys, we all know what happened the next day. And first of all, because today is the anniversary and it's 18 years, I did want to take a moment and just say, I'm never going to ever make light of the lives that were lost that day. Way too many good people ended up losing their lives. A lot of firefighters, a lot of, police officers, and, all the people that were in those buildings. But here's something that I found really, really disturbing. So the planes hit the buildings, and instead of saying, get out and get out now, they told people to stay put. That's disturbing to me, because I'm going to tell you what. I mean, I know the one building they hit on the 110th floor, and on the second building, I think they hit on the 122nd floor. If I was on the second floor of the building and it got hit by an airplane, I'm gone. I am out of there. Now, I know a lot of people did leave, okay, and that was interesting. But for them to say don't leave, I really think that is messed up. Really messed up, because it was a horrible situation. Looking back on that day, and it's like one of those days, guys, where if you said somebody that's old enough to remember the event, like my kids were born the next month, so my kids who will be 18 years old next month have no recollection of it because they weren't even here when it happened. But it's one of those events that if you were old enough to remember, you're going to say, I know exactly where I was and exactly what I'm doing when the Twin Towers hit. Just like the people that when Kennedy was assassinated, people knew exactly where they were, what was going on in their lives when that event happened, because, an assassination of a president was a huge, huge thing. Obviously, the Twin Towers was a huge, huge thing. And I've kind of talked about that, where I was and what I was doing and stuff like that. It was a It was a horrible, horrible thing to see, and it was a terrible situation. But so what happened after that event? There was no talk of any investigation of this missing money. It was never discussed again. Obviously, the president ended up adding, I think it was $48 billion to his defense spending to justify the two wars that we ended up getting into as a direct result from 9/11, Afghanistan and also Iraq. Okay, so and as you guys know, we have never pulled out of either one of those countries. So very, very sad situation. I don't want to get into a whole lot of conspiracy theorist stuff today, about that event, because I don't want it to diminish the loss of lives that happened that day. But there's way, way too many strange coincidences and, surrounding the event, what happened to the event, like the security cameras being turned off at the Pentagon 2 hours before a supposed plane, which they never found any wreckage at all from that plane or anything else. Is Trump looking to where the money went? I don't think so, Lori Austin. I don't think he's looking into that at all. But you're talking, we're talking about 18 years ago. And the thing is, all this money that goes into the Pentagon, for defense spending and stuff like that, a lot of that goes through the cracks. There was an article I was actually reading today. It was a gentleman. It was actually a video I was watching about this gentleman, and he was trying to figure out where $300 million of missing money went from his allocation of where he was, and he was trying to figure out where that money went. Well, his supervisors were like, "Well, don't worry about it," and then he ended up being transferred to another department, and they kind of just brushed it all away. But I'm sorry, 300 million, 2.3 trillion. You're talking about a tremendous amount of money that's going in somebody's pocket. Somebody's taking that money home. There's a lot of wasteful spending. People's pockets are getting lined, and it's continued to happen through the last 18 years, just like it had happened before then. And because of that event, classified contracts. Exactly. Yep. It's Vash said that. But it's just it's an unfortunate situation that happened, but it was, again, one of those situations where pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. We've talked about that before, like Wizard of Oz, obviously. Pay no attention to what's going on over here. Pay attention to this. And it's distraction. And it was also led us into many, many years of wars. A lot of young men and women have lost their lives. And it's just a shame. It's just a shame. Too many people perished in vain. J.J. Biggs said that. You know what? You are exactly right. Yeah, why attack Iraq when it was supposed to have been the Afghans? Actually, most of the hijackers were Saudis. So why were we not attacking Saudi Arabia? That would be a great question, now wouldn't it? I think 12 or 13 of the hijackers were Saudis. I find that really, really interesting. There's so many things with it, guys, with the whole event that don't add up. That definitely, and of course, you're going to get people that just want to believe everything that they're told, hook, line, and sinker, and don't want to look into stuff. And if you say anything against what is the approved mantra, well, then you're crazy, you're a conspiracy theorist, and all this type of stuff. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I believe in looking for information. Why would the firefighters want to reopen an investigation of what happened on that day? Why was all that steel that came down to the Twin Towers taken away and taken out of the country so quickly? Why was there no footage of any plane going into the Pentagon? A lot of interesting questions. And again, when it comes down to it, follow the money. And somebody just said Mossad. Yeah. And there was a lot of stuff going on leading up to 9/11, activity in the Twin Towers. And again, now we got to talk about the fact that the gentleman that owned the Twin Towers took out a huge insurance policy, and he ended up getting double indemnity because they counted it as two different attacks. So, think about that too. I mean, this guy, I think it was $1 billion insurance policy that he had on that. And because it was two different planes on two different buildings, he got paid that $1 billion twice. That's a lot of money right there alone. So, guys, if you haven't shot me that thumbs up yet, if you would do that, I would appreciate that. Yeah. Scott Cheney just said, fact is not conspiracy. Exactly. But anybody, if you question anything, you're shouted down, you're crazy, all those type of things. And it's very sad. It's really, really sad. And here's the thing is, they want us to believe. Now, I want you to think about this. With all the technology and all the fail safes and everything that we have in this country, they want us to believe that a guy on dialysis in the mountains of Afghanistan on a sat phone and a laptop coordinated this attack, and they had no idea it was coming. And these guys came in here with very little piloting experience, flew two jets into two different buildings when there's a lot of simulations that have happened afterwards where experienced pilots have tried to do it and found it almost impossible to do. So, again, use your own thoughts on it. Do your own research. I always encourage anybody to do their own research. But there's too many coincidences, too many strange things with that and stuff like that. So, and when I'll never forget that day when I watched the first one go down. I watched the first building collapse. And I said to my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, who was pregnant with the twins, because we didn't get married to the following year, I remember saying to her, there's no way that building came down like that. That building was pulled. It was such a perfect demolition job that there's just no way. And they want us to believe that Building 7, just being on fire, not being hit by anything, but just having some fires, that came down on its own as well. I mean, they obviously think that we're stupid. But the thing is, you got to understand, the majority of the people don't want to believe that it could be anything other than what we were told, because that would prove that nefarious things were being done to cover up other things. $2.3 trillion is a lot of money. You might want to cover that up if you've got a good chunk of that in your pocket, I'm sure. You don't want people to know where it's going. You have 3 buildings fell at free fall speed on their own. No way. Exactly, Mr. Rosa. Exactly. Especially when you're talking about how high up the buildings were hit. And there's no way they came down like they did, like that. Absolutely no freaking way. I'll never believe it. I don't care what any. And somebody had sent me a couple of videos, and it was some guy explaining how this happened. Well, you know what? Anybody can go ahead and make stuff up, but there's no other buildings in the history of these type of buildings that came down like that ever. There was some building that burned for like 3 days overseas, a real tall building that never came down that way. So, it just is definitely a very unbelievable situation. And, unfortunately, a lot of money disappears. And, they obviously, jet fuel does not melt steel beams. And think about this. Okay, great comment, John Rice. And think about this. All that jet fuel, when that plane supposedly hit the building, that it would explode right then and there. It wouldn't have trickled down and in through the stuff. It would have just burned up and exploded right then and there. So don't tell me that it went down the rafters and melted steel all the way down to the bottom floor. I'm not buying it. I'm sorry. I'm not a sucker. And then so, they claim the plane fuel spilled into the elevator shafts in the first building. Yeah, they have all those type of things. 9/11 was a CIA job, in my opinion. Shame on the drug infestation in America. Well, and you think about the drug problem that we have in America. That's all run by alphabet companies or, alphabet agencies in this country, because there's no way those drugs would get in here. You're going to tell me how all these drugs, let's talk about heroin. How's all this heroin getting here from Afghanistan? How's it all getting here? It's not like we have a border where they're, packing it across the border. I mean, the cocaine and the marijuana, yeah, sure, that's all coming from the south, from Bolivia and all the other areas down there. And that's that our border is so porous, but heaven forbid that we do anything about that. We can't have that happening. Yeah, the UAF study on Building 7 is very interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of different stuff, but there's a lot of engineers that have come out and said there's no way that happened the way it happened. Absolutely no way. So I commented on your previous video, one in the world is structural integrity. Yeah, the structural integrity on that is Smitty, thank you for that comment. The structural integrity, there's no way that's going to come down like that. It's just not going to happen. I mean, if you're going to tell me that like if there was like with the hit, okay, that those wouldn't twist over this way and then fall off that way. Oh no, it's going to come straight down. Like I said, I'm just not buying it. It's just the CIA has been in the drug business since Vietnam. Karen Tamur said that. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely, they've been. It's all games, guys. We're all being manipulated, and who pays the price in the end? The young people in this country, either by going off and fighting in wars that they shouldn't be in, or with the drugs being brought in and being distributed. And don't get me wrong, nobody forces anybody to do drugs. People choose to do drugs, and I get that, and I understand that. And I never bought the thing where people say, oh, it's a disease. BS. It's a choice. I'm sorry. Maybe some people are more predisposed for addictive personalities. I will give you that, okay? But it's just, as far as the drug abuse goes, it's a choice. How many floors were in the towers? Oh, man, I know that the one plane hit in the 122nd floor. The other one hit at the 110th floor. And I was 150 guys? How many floors? No, it's more than the one plane hit at the 122nd floor. The other plane, hey, Vincent Koch, 9/11 was planned, controlled demo, big scam. I can't disagree with you, and thank you very much for that donation. I never believed that. That was the case. That it was, this big conspiracy thing by a bunch of guys with box cutters, controlled by a guy on a sat phone in a cave on dialysis. So. No, it's not 150. They were 110 and 109. Well, how come they said that the one hit at 110th floor and the other hit at the 122nd? They had the rooftop chained. Many could have been saved. Oh, wow. Ghost City Shelton just said that. I did not know that. Yeah, we're going to have to look into exactly what floors they hit, guys. So some people are saying that each one of them had 110 floors. I might be wrong on where they hit then. I must be wrong. Stacy Stevenson said the 93rd floor. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that. I don't remember myself. So one plane hit on the 82nd floor in Tower 2, and the other hit on the 77th floor. Okay, Smitty just said that. I'm not, I guess I thought I hit higher. I thought it was taller than that. Like I said, I could be wrong in it. But either way, as high up as they were hitting, there's no way it brought those towers down the way that they said it did. Just not going to ever happen. Hey, L. Gibson, when a tall tree in the forest breaks, it falls to the left or right. It does not go straight down to the trunk. Buy good for the girls. Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for that donation. And you're right. When things fall in nature, they fall over sideways. Hey, Veterans Angel, thank you very much for that donation. I appreciate that. But yeah, it's check out Architecture's Engineers Group on YouTube. Mr. Rose just said that. Yeah, I know there's like 3,000 of them that say that there's no way that happened the way that they're saying it happened. Like I said, it's never happened before, and all of a sudden, not one building, but two buildings do the same exact thing. There's no way, absolutely no way. I don't care what anybody says. You can believe, guys. Here's the best part. Because we're a free country, you can believe whatever you want to believe. If you want to drink the Kool-Aid and blame it on the boogeyman, that's great. Go right ahead. But I definitely, I'm not buying it. There's too many, like I said, too many nefarious things that go on. I mean, remember that one program that Obama was involved in where they ended up selling, weapons over in Mexico, and then one of those weapons that they sold in Mexico ended up killing a cop on the American side. I mean, it's crazy. It never stops. But yet they want to take away our weapons, which is amazing to me. So, hey Ed, where do you think the American people's fighting spirit has gone? I think that we have too many distractions, to be honest with you, and I think that we've become very complacent in this country. I think too many people don't want change. As long as it doesn't affect them directly, whatever it may be, as long as it doesn't affect them directly, then they're going to do absolutely nothing. So I think that's the biggest problem. Drugs, alcohol, even like with now I'm going to tell you what, I'm definitely always have been a proponent for legalization of marijuana. But again, it's another way to keep people dumbed down in a fog. Because I mean, anybody that's been stoned knows you're in a fog when you're high. So I've been there. I know. So I know what I'm talking about. But again, it's like they want to keep us dumbed down, keep us drugged up, addicted to our TVs, addicted to the Xbox and all the games that are out there. I mean, look at all the guys that sit around, ex-military guys even. Okay, my ex-brother-in-law is a former Ranger in the Army, and he spends most of his time playing Xbox. No judgment on him for doing that, but that's what he does. He sits around, he drinks his beer, he plays Xbox and talks with his other friends, and that's what they do. And so as long as they can keep us distracted, sports, movies, entertainers, the latest, greatest band that's out there that we all got to go and see. They can keep us distracted and keep us on those prescription medications and keep us drinking and, keep us on the drugs. We're never, ever going to stand up and say, hey, this isn't cool. I don't like this. So people are not going to ever stand up, and they're not ever going to fight back as long as that continues to happen. And again, because if you have people standing up and fighting, let's think about it real quickly here, okay? The American Revolution. What's the percentage of people, guys, that stood up and fought in the American Revolution? It was 3%. 3%. So think about that. 97% said, I'll just go along with the status quo and I'm not going to do a thing. Okay? 3% of the people said, I'm not taking this crap no more, and they did something about it. So think about that. We were prepared for 6 months, as they said. Now where's the big event? Gina Hiker just said. I'm going to tell you what. I'll see. Sean Wheeler just said, I'm ex-military and take medical marijuana products to help people and make medical marijuana products to help people with their pain. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, I don't have anything against medical marijuana. I really, truly don't. But they're legalizing it all over. They've decriminalized it in New York already, so it's just a matter of time before it's legal here. There's way too much money to be made in it, okay? And here's the thing. People are not going to stop smoking dope. It's just not going to happen, okay? I've said it before, and I'll say it again. There's two things that they needed to legalize countrywide, tax the crap out of, and we'll have more than enough money for everything that we need. One was marijuana, and the other one was prostitution. You legalize it, you regulate it, you make sure the girls are safe, and you tax the crap out of it. Because guess what, guys? Throughout the history of mankind, people have gotten high, and people are going to go to prostitutes. It's just a fact. You could be for it, you could be against it. That's fine, okay? But, review time, you're bald. Wow, thank you. I did not know. I'm bald? Really? I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Sean said his products are only edible. Yeah, and like I said, if it's helping people with chronic pain, helping MS people with MS, helping people with seizures and that type of stuff, I'm absolutely all for it. Absolutely all for it. And like I said, I don't even have a problem with recreational marijuana use. I really don't. But the thing is, realize, prostitution is the oldest business. Yeah, exactly. It's the oldest profession. Absolutely is. But again, it's like, with I don't have a problem with it. I'm just saying it's one of those things that they will use to control people. Okay. And it's so they'll legalize it, they will tax the crap out of it, and they'll still continue to try to raise our taxes for other things. I'd like to know what Colorado is, when I think it was the first state to actually legalize marijuana. What are they doing with all that money? I'm curious. I would be curious to see where a lot of that goes. So, our own government is our biggest threat, Matt G just said. I agree with you 100%. I absolutely agree with you. Like I said, guys, if they can keep us distracted, we're never going to focus on the real problems. If they can keep us hating each other, there's another thing we got to talk about really quickly. If they can keep us hating each other, there will never be effective change for anybody because we're too busy hating this person because they look different than we do. It's sad, and it happens all the time, and it's not going to go away because it's pushed out there in the media every time you turn around. So there is an agenda, guys. There really, truly is. So, yeah, you think you're right. Hold on. Hold on, guys. All right. That's the end of review time. I did it myself this time. All right. So, Russ Williams said prostitution will never be legalized. The government doesn't like the competition. Yeah, right. But you know what? Like I said, it's just well, it's legal in Nevada. So, but Smitty said he was 13 when JFK was assassinated, and I'll bet you remember where you were when that happened too. So, anyway, guys, it's just there's so many crazy things going on, and it's just a weird world we live in now. It really truly is, guys. If you haven't shot me a thumbs up yet, I see we got almost 500 people in the chat, and we got like 159 thumbs up. If you could shoot me a thumbs up, I would appreciate it. Oh, I wanted to mention a couple things. So, we did this last sale, okay, and we screwed up. We made a mistake. We did not include any of the bucket meals in that sale. So I talked with Mike, and what we decided to do, we started the sale today. We're going to run it for 2 weeks, and it's going to be a bucket only sale. So any of the bucket meals on the website, preppernurse1.com for the legacy foods are on sale. Okay. So, but what we're going to do is kind of